تمام.
Hello everyone, my name is Renata Kaczmarska and I'm the focal point on the family of the United Nations. It is my honor to moderate this event. The event is a side event of the high-level political forum on sustainable development, which we are starting at the United Nations today. The priority theme this year is sustainable and resilient recovery from the COVID-19 pandemic that promotes the economic, social, and environmental dimensions of sustainable development, building an inclusive and effective path for the achievement of the 2030 Agenda in the context of the Decade of Action and Delivery for Sustainable Development. The event we are attending today is a side event of the HLPF, and the theme of the event is Family Relations and Flexible Working Arrangements, the Way Forward. This event is organized by the permanent mission of the State of Qatar to the United Nations in collaboration with the Doha International Family Institute and also in cooperation with the Division for Inclusive Social Development of the Department of Economic and Social Affairs of the United Nations. We will first hear from Her Excellency Alia Ahmed Saeed Al Thani, Permanent Representative of the State of Qatar to the United Nations.
I'm sorry, Yusuf, I think we can't hear the voice.
Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, it is an honor and privilege for me to welcome you to the side event aimed at bringing to the forefront a topic of significant importance to families around the globe. I truly believe that the engagement of diverse stakeholders in this event will further inform and enrich the discussions. Allow me to express my gratitude to our partner, the Doha International Family Institute, DIFI, represented by its Executive Director, Dr. Sharif Al-Imadi, for taking the initiative to organizing this event. Since the establishment in 2006, the Doha International Family Institute continues to make commendable efforts and positive contributions through its important role in promoting and supporting the family and continuously seeking innovative solutions to family challenges. Excellencies, the COVID-19 pandemic, which caused devastating short and long-term impact on societies, as well as the livelihoods of people around the globe, have placed the viability and importance of flexible work arrangements, such as remote work options, in the spotlight. This approach proves to be key in eliminating work disruption, as well as allowing families to spend more time together, fostering cohesiveness. The potential of technology and innovation represents a fundamental tool in facilitating the implementation of those measures and ensuring their effectiveness. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, the State of Qatar recognizes the central role of the family in social development and pays particular attention to supporting and empowering the family, and has made substantial investments and pursued several policies to enable all family members to perform at their best in a supportive environment. Family-friendly initiatives are implemented to create a supporting work environment, while at the same continuing to promote learning, professional development, and career advancement. A number of institutions in the state of Qatar are providing progressive models for the country to follow and advocating for policies that promote a better work-family balance. For instance, the Doha International Family Institute is advocating for policies and practices that improve employees' work satisfaction and work-life balance programs. These practices contribute to improved physical and mental health and well-being, reflecting positively on the whole society and the nation. In conclusion, I'm looking forward to a very fruitful exchange of views and to hear from all distinguished speakers about the experiences, best practices, and the way forward. And I thank you again for the opportunity.
Thank you to the ambassador. Our next speaker for today will be Dr. Sharifa Al-Ahmadi. She is currently the Executive Director of Doha International Family Institute. Dr. Al-Ahmadi is a certified clinical psychologist from Ministry of Health in Qatar and practicing her psychologist license to treat behavioral disorders. She is also a family therapist. She delivered several courses and workshops in the field in Qatar and abroad and presented at numerous international conferences formed with specializations in several studies and research and published them in international magazines. Dr. Al-Ahmadi, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Renata, and thank you very much, Your Excellency, for this fruitful speech in the beginning. And we always here to support family as a Doha International Family Institution. Excellency, esteemed guests, good morning and welcome to the Doha briefing. First of all, I would like to thank you all speakers, moderator, and the participants for joining our discussion today on a timely, important topic, which is family relations and flexible work arrangement. The family in all parts of the world is currently undergoing radical changes in terms of political and economic instabilities, culture and social challenges that affects family cohesion and well-being at large. COVID-19 pandemic has added to these challenges, forcing societies and government to develop and implement policies with measures of social distancing that in turn affect the roles and responsibilities of families who had to learn how to adapt. COVID-19 presents an opportunity for families to reshape their relationship with their spousal or parental. The implementation of a flexible working arrangement allowed spouses to be together and parents to spend more time with their children and adolescents. In fact, in a research conducted by Doha International Family Institution in 2019 on work-family balance, challenges, experience, and implications for families in Qatar, one of the major recommendations was to introduce flexible working arrangement, which is implemented by default with the pandemic. Briefly, I will provide insight on the evidence we produced during the pandemic to see the impact of familial relationships. Our current research on the impact of COVID-19 on family cohesion in Qatar showed that 64% of the surveyed participants experienced positive improvement in their relationships with family members in terms of closeness and bonding. Yet 28% experienced increased pressure and responsibilities as it was difficult to balance household work and children's education responsibilities. Moreover, in relation to spousal relationship in a study we conducted on adolescent well-being in Qatar, when we asked about some indicators such as my parents argue in a scary way or my parents hit each other during an argument, we found a sharp decrease in family violence. I hope that our discussion today will open doors for fruitful dialogue on the way forward beyond the pandemic to make use of the introduced flexible working arrangement that enable families to reconcile work and family responsibilities and enhancing the overall well-being of family members. Finally, I would like to take this opportunity to thank our partners, the Permanent Mission of the State of Qatar to the United Nations for their consistent support and for continuously advocating for family issues at the international level. I would also like to thank the United Nations Department of Economic and Social Affairs for paving the way for family empowerment. Thank you for your time, and we look forward to a lovely discussion. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Al-Mahdi, and thank you for sharing the research from Qatar. I think it's very enlightening to see the effects on family relationships of COVID-19 pandemic. Let me say a few words about the work-family balance challenges that we are facing today with the COVID-19 pandemic. I can say that the international community in general, and especially the private sector, has focused a lot on the technical, I would call them technical realities of the flexible working arrangements. So of course, the rapid development of new technologies enabled us to be able to work from home and facilitated such very rapid application of these technologies for our work-family balance. So we have a lot of research indicating that employees with flexible work options are more productive and loyal to their employers, for example. And many parents have availed of flexible working arrangements and telecommuting, of course, and has become part of their working routines. And this trend will continue. The COVID-19 pandemic sped up these processes, and thanks to the new technologies, we are able to work from home. But we seem to focus a lot on technical aspects, but with less focus on how it impacts the familial relationships. So, these flexible working arrangements work for families, right? Maybe they have worked for employers, but have they worked for employees and for families themselves? So this is one of the questions our distinguished panel will attempt to answer today. And I'm very happy that this panel is actually focusing on this topic, as we really need to look more into the impact of the flexible working arrangements and work-family balance on family relations. So our panel discussion now will move to our next speaker, who is His Excellency Ambassador Dr. Ahmed Mohammed Al-Maraiki, who is a special advisor to the UN Secretary General. He was an advisor to Antonio Guterres in December 2019, in line with the Secretary General's vision and efforts to address causes of humanitarian disaster and conflicts, to take more preventive measures and improve the quality of the United Nations response. Dr. Al-Maraiki is appointed to support the Secretary General's ongoing outreach in broadening and strengthening engagement and dialogue with member states, particularly in the global south and with the private sector. Your Excellency, the floor is yours.
Well, thank you, Rita, and I will start with also, I'd like to thank Doha International Family Institute, UN, DESA, and the state of Qatar for the opportunity to join this important and timely discussion today. Excellency, distinguished panelists and colleagues, as you know, COVID-19 is testing the world's humanity and resilience. This pandemic has brought into sharp focus the need to exercise flexibility in our personal and professional lives. We live in an extraordinary time. Before the pandemic hit, the UN Secretary General recognized the value of flexible working arrangement and telecommuting can bring to an organization. And in bulletin released in April 2019, the UN allow staff to arrange such measures with their managers. This allowed for individuals to maximize flexibility to make gain in work-life balance while maintaining the effective and efficient delivery of the UN's vital work. That vital work, of course, include field work, such as distributing humanitarian assistance in hard-to-reach areas, providing educational and healthcare needs, supporting essential government services, receiving world peace through peacekeeping operations, and work such as coordinating the cooperation of economic and social matter amongst the members, promoting human rights, administrating justice through international courts, and above all, facilitating, of course, a global diplomacy. Over the past year and a half, the UN continues to perform its important work during an ongoing pandemic, while also leading international response to COVID-19 pandemic. This places immense pressure on UN staff to perform their health, mental well-being, and family relations. Consequently, the UN, like many other entities, adapted to changing business conditions to better balance work and family life while ensuring the safety of the staff. The United Nations has an obligation to come to the aid to the ultra vulnerable and the millions of people who cannot protect themselves. The UN also has an obligation to provide an enabling work environment for its staff. The provision of flexible working arrangements, telecommuting, and an increasing understanding by manager allow for positive result in stress management without affecting performance. As major global international organization, the UN also has an obligation to lead by example. The measures put in place to provide for effective work through flexible arrangements and telecommuting set a global standard for member states to follow. Flexibility in workplace is about developing adaptable work practices to fit the unique needs of modern business and operations during a pandemic. An increased flexibility allows for employers and employees to organize workflows in a way that suits everyone, while maximizing balance between productivity and family relationships. Moreover, this allows for better adaptability to changing business conditions, and individual employees are better able to manage their personal lives. The benefit for business of flexible working, it is well known. It's helped to retain staff, widens the talent pool for recruitment, and most importantly, it's an increased commitment and loyalty for existing staff. All of this, in turn, translate into improved productivity and by extension, improved efficiency as well. Similarly, flexible working allow employees to better balancing their personal lives with responsibility at work. Not only is this positive impact during the regular courses or course of business, but during the current pandemic, allowing for telecommuting and flexible working means the impact of COVID-19 pandemic are lessened. Excellency, distinguished panelists and colleagues, the world of work has been enormous economic and social change, which have only been worsened by the coronavirus pandemic. There is wealth of evidence support to benefit of flexible working, and the UN is leading by example in providing maximum flexibility for its staff while continuing to maintain international peace and security, protecting human rights, delivering humanitarian assistance, and supporting sustainable development and climate action. Thank you, and I am looking forward to today's discussion.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ambassador, and thank you for presenting the broad picture of United Nations efforts during the COVID-19 pandemic. I would like to now introduce our next speaker, who is Khalid Al-Nama. He's the Director of Family Policy at DAFI. Previously, he worked with CDC at the Ministry of Public Health, focusing on policies related to family welfare. During his time at Qatar Gas, he was involved in the development of policy and procedure for crisis communication and helped set the strategic plan for the employees' technical competency. Mr. Al-Nama has a postgraduate qualification in applied psychology, and he's pursuing his PhD in the field of psychology, besides some of the other professional training focusing on family well-being and mental health. Mr. Al-Nama, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Renata. Thank you very much. And thank you, everyone. Thank you, Your Excellency and distinguished panelists. I would like to say thank you for having me today. It's so wonderful to see you today, all of you here. I know it's a very unique situation that we used to meet face to face, but today we have a different circumstances. Meanwhile, I will start my introduction. So Yusuf, probably you can about my presentation here. I would like to start with a question, and before I'm taking you through my presentation today, I would like to say that why do you think we need a flexible working arrangement? So to answer this question, I have actually do my due diligence yesterday, and I have done a couple of readings yesterday. There are actually a couple or number of research found that 12% of workers quit their job for better work-life balance. And this has risen also 20% since 2013 as a one of top reason for the turnovers. It shows that also companies that support remote work experience 25% lower turnover. However, also 23% of full-time employees are willing to take a pay cut of more than 10% in order to work from home. So I guess this is bring the attention to one subject, which actually we need to introduce the a flexible working arrangement. And this is the story which begins with DAFI. So before I start this story, actually, I would say thank you to my team actually who work extensively, who pay a lot of their time and effort to find a way actually to use to find a suitable solution for those who actually have a kind of poor work-life balance. So it would be better if we can start now the presentation so I can go through the slides together. Well, it might be a technical issue, so let me go through the presentation. Thank you for your patience. Thank you very much. We can go ahead actually to the second slide, and we will introduce the subject, which is actually framing the flexible working arrangement in the policy context. So before we start that one, I prefer actually to go and to find an operational definition for family working balance, if we're gonna introduce that one, we'll say family-friendly policies, which refers to policies that help working parent to reconcile work and family life. There are actually 4 general policies dominating that area or shaping that discussion in this domain. The first one, it is employee-centered flexibility, which basically refers to the changing in location and schedule of the work to fit the personal circumstances. The other dimension is related to parental paid leaves, which is actually related to paternity and maternity leave, which is generally associated with better health life outcomes for mothers and infants. The third domain, it's the length of the working hours. It has been brought also by speakers. Actually, there is like a direct contact, a direct relationship between a poor work-life balance or even a work-life conflict and long working hours. The other domain, or the last domain, it is actually the finding a suitable childcare access or even facilities, because it's highly recognized by parents who want to join any organization. Even those the qualities of the children, which is considered as an essential support to maintain life responsibilities. We can go ahead actually together to explore a couple of options where actually some institute may recognize to have those in place, especially from the HR perspective. First of all, we have to understand those options is not actually a one size fit to all. Each organization has a different requirement. Even each responsibilities is different from a person to person. So that's why even the HR personnel have come out with a couple of recommendations to think of those the main characters or main broad categories of flexible working arrangements, such as flexibilities in career breaks and flexibility in scheduling, flexibility in location, flexibility in working length. Some of them to some extent has been actually implemented during the COVID-19, and some of them is still under investigation because it has some financial implication on the workplace, which actually can be considered. As I present today, even some statistics and figures that many employees will actually have changed their perspective of joining a companies. Previously, if you ask employees, why do you want to join this company? They will say, well, because they are paying a high salary or they are offering like a better life condition. But now the option has been changed. It might be escalated. They will seek also, they want to understand their managers. They are offering them like a flexible working arrangements, or even, it's even the mothers or even the families here, the type of families in the Gulf region or in the Arab region, always they are seeking the concept of having a flexibilities and working time. So that's also lead the discussion to move on for the third slide, which is the much more important to understand the benefit of flexible working arrangement. Yusuf, can you just go to the third slide, please? Well, of course, everything has pros and cons. You will never find a suitable solution which can fit everyone here in life. And this is the beauty of life, which will give you some kind of options where you can consider those options are applicable to your situation. And you need to think also of sacrifice, because you need to understand everything comes with a cost. So let me introduce this subject from 2 different angles. The first one, it is from working parents' perspective, and the other one from the employer's perspective. We have actually introduced a couple of examples just to show you how it may impact the working parents. For example, there is a huge and enormous impact on the anxiety level. The parents who are working, who actually work in very poor environment, they probably will suffer from high level of anxiety. And even that can be reduced and buffered by offering those consequences or by offering these measures in place, which are going to have actually a better outcomes. And the second part, which is enable parents to provide an emotional need. I guess it's the hard block in our life. So we need to consider those aspects as always being said repeatedly by our senior management. We have to take care about our kids because those are the new generation. And the dynamic of life has changed enormously. So probably previously in the old generation, they are required to stay with us for a couple of hours, but now the needs is to stay with them for a longer hours. But we have to ensure that there is a measurable and there is a measure in place which safeguard actually employers' job and also benefit from having these measures in place. And of course, that will introduce a better employees' performance. From the employer's perspective, of course, it has an enormous positive impact, which reduce the staff turnover and absenteeism. And adding to that, also, it will attract a talent applicant to this organization, and eventually it will achieve the organizational goal. Adding to that, also, there is a hidden cost by even losing a candidate, even there is like a work related stress to the environment itself. So probably some candidates will try to find some suitable place where actually they appreciate the family working arrangements. So introducing the subject which has been introduced in our ED opening remarks, actually DFE has conducted a research on work-family balance, challenge, experience, and implication for families in Qatar in 2019, and those actually came with the philosophy of having a policy-oriented research, and those outcomes has been articulated into main 3 or 4 categories. As a result, workers who lost valuable time and energy for their families, due long and existing working hours. So basically here we are talking that a valuable time has been lost because a third of our life we spend it in our workplace. So we need to understand there is an importance of having a reconciled work arrangement to address all of these concerns. The second outcome was also the working condition requires actually to balance the work and the family responsibilities, especially if we have a high member of family, they are suffering from not being able to communicate or even to sit for together. So, I mean, they will be impacted negatively. On the other hand, also from this study, actually the stress involved heavily on those parents who actually have not an adequate time to stay with their parents with their family because actually of long working hours. And the main outcome, of course, to adopt the flexible working arrangement as part of this study findings. We can move ahead with the following slide. So to give you an example here, within DFE as a part of Qatar Foundation family. So when we talk about Qatar Foundation, they have they have adopted a couple of friendly policies in 2017 and in 2018. Those are a few examples of those friendly family policies, which is actually part of the family working arrangement. They actually has extended maternity leave for almost like for 14 weeks, and also they offer paternity leave for 5 working days. In 2018, also they adopt the flexible working hours from other than the normal working hours within the foundation from 7:30 to 3:30. So it's based on the alignment within the line managers. And QF also has applied and adopt a part-time policy, which provide an opportunity for employees to work under a part-time contract, which I think this bring a lot of benefit to Qatar Foundation and attract many qualified candidates to join this organization. We can move ahead also with the second slide. So here is what we are doing today. We are presenting a couple of presentation or projects, which has been taken in DFE from different departments, either from FPD or even from research department. So these are one of the important actually aspect has been considered within DFE social aspect of fertility, which actually shed the lights on aging population because there is a decline on the population due to the increasing working hours, working load, and so on. So parents, they start to reconsider to reprioritize their life responsibilities by placing their work ahead of their family responsibilities. And this is the crucial actually aspects which need to be considered and acknowledged also by decision makers to consider the fertility issues has a direct link to working hours or having a poor family working balance or a poor family working balance. In the countries, actually, there are a couple of countries, they are suffering from decline in population. And to some extent, there are a couple of initiatives which being brought previously in our series in Ramadan while we're having our events. there are a number of incentives which has an enormous impact also by altering the decision or even the opinion of the parents to have more kids instead of having fewer kids. So we can move ahead also with the second second slide. So these are also the This is actually one of the most interesting projects. It's currently undergoing with DFE. It's called the Cost-Benefit Analysis on Work-Family Balance Project. Actually, when you want to present something to the decision makers, always you need to make sure or to ensure that you have a solid evidence to produce or to change or even to promote the policies and taken in the place, because there is a cost ties with any change happen within the policy perspective. So what we have done is we consider also a very sophisticated algorithm to understand the cost implication with changing also, which based on implementing those policies in a place. This study will be taken in a place very soon, because actually we consider a Qatar Foundation as a role model, and then we are going to expand this a little bit with different entities here within Qatar. We can go ahead with the following slide. We have reached to our conclusion. I guess just to wrap up everything quickly, I would say those are the main pillars of flexible working arrangements, or how it may actually impact them in a positive way. If we think there is like an enormous impact in a positive way, we have actually to push them and to advocate for having flexible working arrangement. It will increase the population growth. It will also promote the child development. It will extend also some support to have a family cohesion and to extend the bonding between a parent and a child in terms of communication. And also it will promote a healthy parenting style. And of course, it will have a positive impact on the productivity level, since everyone will have actually a clear mindset and everyone will come fresh to his work again, to his workplace by enjoying this second family. And last, it will bridge also the gender equalities by attracting those candidates, the female candidates, to work in this place, and instead of just leaving the work environment to take care of their children, which is actually apparently it's happened here in the Gulf region. I would say thank you very much, and allow me to thank also my team in FPD department. They have contributed to this presentation and they have done a very great work so far. I'm so proud of them, and I'm so proud actually talking to you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Al-Nama. I really appreciate your focus of your presentation and talking about the policies of Qatar Foundation for its flexible working arrangements. That's a very good practical example you gave. And also, thank you for broadening the topic. We are not only talking about the impact of work-family balance and productivity, but there are so many aspects that work-family balance can help us with to improve, for example, with child development as well. So thank you for this broad perspective on work-family balance. And now we will move to our last speaker. Before we do that, I would like to remind everybody that you can put your questions either to particular speakers or general questions in the chat. And we will take those questions after our last presenter for today, who will be Dr. Sarah Abdullah. She's a research fellow, Qatar Biomedical Research Institute, Hamad bin Khalifa University, Qatar Foundation. Before joining the Neurological Disorders Research Center at Qatar Biomedical Research Institute, Dr. Abdullah was at the University of Cambridge, where she obtained her PhD in clinical neurosciences. Currently, she conducts research related to fundamental and developmental networks of the brain during pregnancy and early childhood, and its association to autism spectrum disorder. Dr. Abdullah, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Give me a few seconds while I share my screen. Can you see my screen clearly? Yes, great, wonderful. Your Excellencies and distinguished panelists, and to the Doha International Family Institute, I can't thank you enough for allowing me to participate in such a valuable discussion, which I'm sure will resonate for a very long time. As a parent, I'm here to talk briefly about how flexible working arrangements have impacted my personal life and other parents that I know of as well. And I'll touch upon not solely the effects on children, but the effects on our personal growths as employees, as individuals as well. So I think before I start discussing a little bit about those certain aspects, I want to give you a brief background as to who I am so that it sort of resonates more with you and it gives you a better platform to understand where I'm coming from. So I've always been a very passionate individual, very dedicated to what I do and very career driven. I always knew from a very young age that my sole purpose was to give back to the community. And my interests fully lied on understanding the human brain, its potentials, and the benefits of the nervous system. I went into medicine, but realized that research was really where I was strong. And so I developed a path fully dedicated to looking at how neuroscience research can be more impactful to my home country of Qatar. And so for a very long time, working hard was instilled within me. And I thought that was the best way to really grow as an individual and to really give back. And it was only now, later in my life, that I realized that working hard is not really the key to achieving and being more productive, but rather working smart. And so just to give you an idea of how much dedication and how much work and how much passion goes into what we do as researchers, at the moment, my lab is looking at identifying predictive biomarkers for autism spectrum disorder. And that includes a lot of hours, a lot of integration between different aspects, different teams, a lot of collaborations, and many, many hours within the lab. And so as a parent that's very much involved in research, finding the time to contribute to what we consider so beneficial to society, and at the same time, contribute to what we consider beneficial within our own personal life, our family life, has created a tug of war. Here you see my two little angels, Yusuf, he's 5 years old, and Jude, she'll be 3 in August. And I didn't realize what I was missing in life until I had my two little ones. And that really created this turmoil between me. So for a very long time, like I said, my career was everything to me. And I lost so much of my personal life because I felt that's who I needed to be. I got married, had my 2 kids, and now the same standard that I've set myself, the same standard that I've set for myself to achieve in my work, I've doubled it as a parent. And so you end up dealing with this conflict of, do you want to be judged as an effective employee and your ethics as an employee, or do you end up having to deal with the judgments of your parenting ethics or your parenting skills? And I don't believe we need to be in that scenario where we have to choose whether we're more dedicated to one aspect of our life in comparison to the other. And so the hurdles that we face as employees, as parents, really stems down to what I'm going to call, in loose brackets or loose parentheses, official working hours on the parent. And this solely is based on the current working structure, which has really been sort of piggybacking on the industrialized revolution sort of system where you would work for certain hours of a day. But we've significantly evolved from that, whether it's in terms of technology and our understanding the way the world works. We've evolved so much, but our understanding or the shape of how we integrate our working aspects haven't sort of caught up with that. And so here I've pointed out a few, and I say a few because there are a plethora of different aspects that have sort of become hurdles for parents. But what I've pointed out here are just the more common ones that are not only a reflection of what I've experienced as a parent, but also as a manager managing several team members that are also parents. And one of the biggest issues that we face is guilt, whether it's guilt because we're far away from our kids, because we have to work, excessively long hours, both in the weekdays and weekends, being in a field of research, or vice versa, guilt of leaving our work behind, a team behind that's very much dedicated to research, working within specified working hours because you're trying to make up for lost time. And what I've found myself doing on numerous occasions is having to work very, very long, exhausting hours, taking a deep breath before you step at home, putting on a smile on your face because you feel guilty for leaving your child or your children behind for so long. And it's another job that restarts all over again. So that on its own ties into the second point, which is a burnout. On multiple occasions, I've burnt out. It's even gone to the point where I was hospitalized because of trying to have to deal with the sort of the level of extreme pressure that I put on myself to achieve as a neuroscientist, and the level that I put on myself to achieve as a mother. And burnout is a very common factor that not only happens to individuals such as myself in the field of neuroscience, but I'm sure this is a global issue amongst various different types of fields, ethnicities, you name it. So this continuous stress that you have to deal with creates a poor working environment and a poor working system for each individual. I've found myself and others within my team sometimes having to work haphazardly. You're trying to finish as much as you can within the official working hours that you're supposed to be working in, but then you're not working as efficiently as you should be. On the contrary, I've also found members of my team, for example, working slowly because they don't want to start a task that they're worried they won't finish in time within their allocated working hours because they have other responsibilities, whether it's personal or child related outside of their working hours. So this creates an air of unhappiness. This creates an air of workers that are working for the sake of money, not for their passions or their true dedications. And a lot of the issues that I noticed are sort of the main sort of focus around it recently when it comes to parents that have to deal with younger kids, such as myself, is struggling to both attend to school requirements when you have kids that are still more they lean more on you when it comes to certain aids and your working and your working tasks as well. And while a lot of these factors are probably universal for both genders, it tends to be more extreme when it comes to mothers. And this, I think, largely is due to cultural pressures or cultural responsibilities. And to the point where on numerous occasions, I have found women within my own team in sort of this fear of announcing that they've become pregnant. And that shouldn't be the case. Pregnancy is a blessing and a beauty. And for women to fear the announcement of saying that they're pregnant because they're worried they're going to get judged, they're worried that they will no longer be looked upon as a efficient and valuable employee, but rather a burden to the institution, should not be the case. And it also creates an air of environment, which I myself faced when I also got pregnant, and within my team as well, where you have this pressure to compete with employees that are able to stay past 5 p.m. Because for a very long time, we as a culture, as a society, have glorified working late hours. And although official working hours are from 7:30 to 3:30, leaving before 5 p.m. is frowned upon. So we need to work away from glorifying long working hours because we've sort of attached your efficiency and your value as employee to being in the office past 5 p.m. And at the same time, we need to stop having to enforce or sort of suggest upon women that they have to give up on their career goals. So either you focus on your career or you focus on being a mother. And this concept, in my opinion, transcends across all cultures. And the reason why I say that is because being in Cambridge for a very, very long time, I've had women in science tell me that in order to be successful as a scientist, I need to give up on my family goals. And that to be a true scientist, you need to focus all of your efforts in research, and that children don't need you as much as you actually need them. I believe that's nonsense. So what's the goal? The goal is to establish more autonomy and more flexibility for both women and men, and provide them with the trust that they will be able to perform just as efficiently and productively as those employees who have not become parents. So before I move on to talk about how flexible working arrangements have beneficially impacted my kids and my personal life, I think it's important to start off by talking about how it's impacted me as an individual, because that transcends to what happens at home. And for, like I said, for a very long time, I thought working harder, working longer was the only way to go. And I was completely wrong. And I was happy that sort of awakening was a breath of fresh air. I've now started to work smarter, and that has increased my productivity, because now, based on my flexible working arrangements, I know that I have certain things that I need to attend to at certain hours of the day, and I'm happier to work more efficiently. I know I'm more focused, I get things done, and that transcends towards my team as well. You have more efficient and concise meetings. They might be regular, but they're more time saving because communication has become efficient. You get the point across in a smarter, more concise way. And time saving then allows you to increase your personal development, which is then more beneficial to your institution as well and to your team. As a manager, for example, I not only have to ensure that I'm working to the best of my ability, but my team is working to the best of their ability as well. And since the opportunity where we've all sort of been lucky enough, in a sense, to be forced into flexible working arrangements, I've been able to attend more courses and learn from these courses that I then implement into my working environment. And then that on its own, as a domino effect, transcends into a team who's also learned and benefited from that. And so that on its own is so essential, because then it empowers both me as an individual employee and as a parent. And the same goes for both my husband and I. Both of us are empowered to rise in our careers, and that improves our mental well-being. So improvement in our mental well-being and this empowerment to have a chance to develop ourselves further while taking care of work tasks and our family provided a happier home. We were able to bond with our kids in ways that were otherwise lost because we were spending long hours in the office doing things where honestly were unnecessary working tasks, or we were distracted. During those times, which we would have lost 1 or 2 or 3 hours in the office, not really doing anything essential, we were able to spend that with our children. Things as simple as school pickups and drop-offs. I can't stress how important that is. That 20-minute conversation that you have about school, what they did, etc., is extremely beneficial and creates a tie between you and your child that's irreplaceable. And at the same time, because you're able to work around your children, especially when they're younger, you have stress-free learning, because kids tend to have certain pockets where they tend to learn better. You don't have to have, those stressful moments where they're already really tired and you're back from home and you're really tired and you really need them to do their homework and time's running out and they have school the next day. All of that is avoided. And for others, they've told me that it's also helped them reduce their commuting time, their commuting costs, and reduced costs for childcare. But what I really wanted to share with you, which was sort of an enlightenment for me, was fostering essential skills from a young age. What I noticed during my time at home was that I started subconsciously to instill a strong work ethic amongst my children. They started to see how I work. They started to see behaviors they would not have otherwise seen because I would have spent it doing it in the office. They started to understand the concept of time management. They understand the time of value, and they valued quality time. They knew that when I was with them, I was with them. I was attentive. And when it was time to do work, it was time to do work. And they started to pick up on these habits, and from a very young age started to implement it, and even started to mimic these behaviors in their times playing together. So they started to mimic negotiating skills. They started to talk the way I would talk, because sometimes they would sit next to me while I'm in a meeting, and for them that expanded their horizon of how they could be. It made them very inquisitive. And for someone that's in the field of neurodevelopment and neuroscience, I can't express to you how important these skills are, especially being in a field of autism spectrum disorder, where we've proven time and time again that early intervention can either reduce or completely eliminate some symptoms of the disorder. Being able to help your children develop certain skills and being active in their development at such a young age is so impactful. And being able to have that because of flexible working arrangements is something that is definitely irreplaceable. So I think by giving you these examples, I also want to stress that flexibility does not mean less working hours or less productivity. It really depends on the dynamic nature of our lives, and depends highly on the responsibilities of us as individuals. Maybe someone such as myself might need more time out of the office because I have such young kids. And others may find that being in the office is more beneficial for them. The point is, flexibility is there for you as an individual and an employee to be able to choose what best suits your needs. And furthermore, it allows you to work during your effective energy cycles. Some people are better efficient workers during the day, while others are more efficient at nighttime. And I think it's also really important to stress that the unforeseen events of the pandemic should not be used as a sole reference to conclude the impacts of the working out of office situation. A lot of people think that flexible working hours is very much representative of what happened with schools closing down, nurseries closing down, activities closing down, and you had to work at specific working hours during the day while your kids were unable to be in school. That is not the concept of flexible working hours. That was an unforeseen event that's temporary and hopefully will surpass. Flexibility has to do with being able to shape yourself around different responsibilities that you have within your life. So I wanted to give you some examples of real impactful events, the most real impactful events that has happened for myself from 2020 to date. And it honestly, for me, it's so surprising, but there has been a massive and significant boost in productivity, not only for myself, but for my team. And coming from years of hard work, and it's not just for myself, but my team members as well, this has been such an eye-opener to us because we realized that we were working wrong. Sorry, excuse me. So my team had significantly increased our efficiency by 3 times. We've also started to nurture a less stressful working environment. We're more focused with our research questions and our research investigations. We managed to publish more research articles in 1 year than we have in the 5 years or so that we've worked together. And we've also managed to obtain a patent on a diagnostic method for ASD, all within that 1 year. We also developed a stronger working family unit. We're more supportive of each other because now we understand each other's needs. There's the fear of having to say that you need flexible time is no longer there because everyone is experiencing, and we realize the value of it. It improved morale, and it created a safe space to discuss agreements in a professional way with clear and improved communication. And in terms of my personal life, the most impactful events I've seen was less hassle when it came to doing homeworks and school activities, avoiding all those stressful nights and tears. And my child managed to learn dramatically. He improved his learning capabilities dramatically, surpassing what's required for his grade level because of the pure involvement that me as a parent had on his life. There's also this increase in bonding time, so that when it's time for me to work, there are less tears. They understand it now. And I've developed a strong work ethic and consideration for family balanced life in my kids at such a young age, which I never thought I would have been able to instill. And at the same time, it created a more supportive environment for both my husband and I to accomplish our tasks and to find empowerment in what we do. So to conclude, flexible working arrangements have significant benefits and should be integrated as a norm. And I remember one time we had a meeting, a Teams meeting, where a colleague of mine decided to make a joke that I'm such a dictator when it comes to my lab because he saw people in my team working at 6 a.m. And one of my team members, who is a mom of a 2-year-old and has ADHD, said, "Yes, but we come here happy. And that shows you the pure benefit of flexible working arrangements. They're there at 6 a.m., but they're happy to be there at 6 a.m. because they know it allows them to have time to take care of what they need later through the day. So thank you for your time, and I really appreciate you giving me a platform to share my story. Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much, Dr. Abdullah. Wow, what a personal story, and I really appreciate the very candid account of your own experience. That was very enlightening. I have to say that you mentioned at the beginning the parental burnt out that you experienced, and this is actually something we elaborated on in the recent report on family issues, especially as it related to COVID-19. I think that the issue of parental burnout is kind of under the radar, and we need really more attention to talk about this. And what also came to my mind is, to be able to organize yourself. You are a scientist, so I predict you have very good planning and organizing skills. One of our competencies at the United Nations. But I don't know if all parents have those skills, and also other skills, how to manage well the work and family. So we also advocate a lot now at the with focal point on the family about parenting education. But really, parents need assistance how to manage better. And I am happy to see more sources for parents, like coming from UNICEF, for example, coming from our report, how to manage better the obligations of work and family. And I absolutely agree with you that it's not about the hours, working hours. And we need more flexibility from employers to really give us more autonomy to manage our time, because they can see the productivity, they can see the loyalty to the organization. So I think also the UN has to lead the way in this. I think Dr. Al-Maraiki also mentioned that UN initiatives, and I think we learned a lot from the crisis. This is an unprecedented time for us. But as you said, Dr. Abdullah, this is really exceptional time. So some of the habits cannot continue, or some of the expectations of workers being there 24 hours, they are not realistic. And we really have to advocate for a bigger voice of parents. What are their needs, what they need from employees, what they need from governments, and the norms that should govern, the private the sector work as well. So let's move to the questions now. We have a question for Dr. Sarah. The presentation opens doors for numerous research ideas, especially in the field of work-family conflict. The unmet need of work-family balance must generate many negative repercussions. If you could kindly give us more insights on employees' unhappy space that you examine due to the lack of work-family balance.
All right, if I understand the question, you want to understand more clearly what it is that employees feel are part of their unhappy space. Is that correct? Okay.
It seems to me, yes.
Yeah. Okay. So from what I see, it's honestly it's multiple. There are a lot of different layers to that. For one, it really depends on, I think I'm going to speak more from a female perspective, because that tends to be what I've experienced and what tends to come to me. As a female manager, I tend to have more female employees approach me with their concerns. And a lot of it has to do with being judged. A lot of the women that I work with are exceptionally talented, exceptionally smart, but are conflicted with having to deal with their family responsibilities, mainly due to cultural pressures, and their responsibilities as an employee. And a lot of it has to do with being judged and being sidelined and being out of the picture. In a field of in research, for example, and I'm sure this transcends across many jobs, collaborations, networking, being part of the talks, all of that is important for your personal growth. And as a woman that's a mother, there tends to be this invisible sort of shield that creates a sort of a distance between who you used to be and who you've now become. And that shield needs to be broken down, because you're the same employee, you're the same person. And I think it's a cultural thing where people tend to forget that you are still the person you were before you became a parent. On the contrary, becoming a parent has actually made me more efficient, and I'm sure it has made others more efficient. There are a lot of valuable skills, transferable skills that you get from becoming a parent that are forgotten or unseen. So am I on the right track of answering your question? So I think a lot of these unhappy spaces that we tend to see because of this lack of family work balance has to be sort of dissipated in a sense, and it all starts from sort of a top-down approach where the culture of starting to understand the importance of allowing an individual that's a parent to grow within the work field and at home is essential for the institution to grow as a whole. So I'm really happy to see institutions like the Doha International Family Institute, which, to be honest with you, I didn't know these were the kind of activities that they were doing, is now advocating for. And I think that their voice is, the fact that it's reached the UN has created an even stronger voice, which I think is going to resonate for a very, very long time. And I'm really appreciative of that.
Thank you so much, Dr. Abdullah. Yes, I agree with you, and I would like to maybe ask now the men, men as major representative of men, about how you perceive the increased role of fathers, with the changing time, with the telecommuting. Do you think that we can see fathers being more involved in family life thanks to the possibility of flexible working arrangements? How do you see the impact of that on maybe increased fatherhood and sharing of household caring responsibilities in the family? Whoever would like to start.
Okay, I might pop up in here. I think absolutely. Yeah, the pandemic actually taught us a lot of things. We get involved with our families more. We know what is our children want exactly. It is not matter of how can we provide them with food and with things that they want, but there's some kind of emotional from the father they need it, and they need to be close to their father, especially the young. I mean, if you have, I mean, the adult, they can take care of themselves, but the young, they don't need only the mother, but the father. The role of father, it is very essential in family, and it helps the mother as well in their working. Here I will just, I'm thinking to add something in terms of the flexibility working. I think we need to have a kind of mechanism, because the mindset now, it's used to be that we have to go to the work from 7 to 2, and we have to be face to face in the meeting. And we found that during the pandemic, when we use the technology, I found myself, it's more productive using the Zoom and using the other means to attend the meeting and also other conferences. So I think we need to have a kind of mechanism, and I am happy that Doha International Family Institute take it in their consideration, and they looking after the analysis and the study to have a kind of mechanism, because to change the culture, because the culture of people, they used to waking up in the morning and going to their office and trying to communicate with each other. But if you tell them, okay, we can make a kind the flexibility of work, they might say, okay, it is good for us as employee, but not good for the employer. So the employer will find themselves, okay, I need to see our employee to be on their desk and looking after them to make sure that they are attend on time. And you know, this kind of mentality, we need to change the mindset of the landlord, I may say. Thank you.
Thank you. Khalid?
Yes.
What's your
Well,
opinion?
I would like to say, first of all, thank you, Dr. Ahmed. I think you have given a very comprehensive picture. I guess what we have learned now, we have learned new lessons from the pandemic. I guess all of us, we have families and we have strong ties with our families, especially if we have kids. I have 2 kids. I have 4 kids, not 2 kids, but 2 of them, they are very young. And we do give them like a constant kind of emotional support. And usually, you know, they always ask us where you are going and why you are staying alone, why you spend so much hours. And you know, we have this kind of dialogue. We tell them the life is changing. You're required to pay a lot of attention. You need to do a lot of your time, to spend a lot from your time and efforts actually to manage those responsibilities. And from the other hand, actually, it's a kind of a positive message is actually when we spend the time, especially, you know, I find it very useful when we get excuse actually to go together and we have a lunch together, or even, you know, when we drop our kids to the schools. It's adding value. They require a lot of attention from our side. They deserve to be recognized. Sometimes, you know, when we come back to our home, actually we feel that we are very exhausted and we are so tired. We need to take a nap, and we have other demands. We need to make sure that they are met, you know, especially when we have kids. So I think, you know, the father role has changed. I think this one has been changed because of the educational level has increased enormously here in Qatar. I guess even the mindset for the organization promote the positive change within the family atmosphere. So I guess yes. Answering your question, I guess yes. We recognize that there is a need to be involved again in the family as a role of father. We need to promote that role in a modern life. That's it from my end.
Thank you so much. This is very uplifting to hear this from fathers. Thank you so much for sharing this approach. I think that we can really conclude that we have to change the culture of work. Many of you mentioned that. We need more autonomy for parents. We need to offer more support for parents. And we have to make sure parents don't feel guilty. So how do you combine both responsibility, work and family responsibilities? This is really key. And I can assure you that from our point of view at the focal point on the family is that we really have to advocate for these family-oriented policies, especially in work-family balance, because we see rapid changes, and we should not be swept in these changes, but kind of control it from, you know, from government perspective, the private sector, and cooperation between the two. And let's not forget also the role of academics, showing us the research, showing us what the needs of parents are, showing us what evidence we have, what family policies actually are working to help. And also civil society should support us in advocating for these families, for the family-friendly policies at the government level and private sector level. I see that there are no more questions from the audience, so I think we could conclude this panel. I would like to thank all the panelists for their really valuable contributions. I hope we can find the presentations online from, I'm sure, from the DP website. And I would like to thank you also to the mission of Qatar, the United Nations, for organizing this event, for Doha International Family Institute for not only this event, but working on so many other events and research and really advocating for families globally. So thank you so much for attending, to all the attendees. Thank you for your questions. Thank you for your concerns. And let's continue this dialogue, and let's tune into other events at this HLPF, because I would like to encourage you, there are many interesting topics and discussions to follow, and the presentations, the voluntary presentations from member states are really giving us a snapshot of what's happening at local, at national level. If perhaps Dr. Almadi would like to add something. This is all I have from my end. Thank you so much. It was really an honor to moderate this discussion. Thank you to all.
Thank you very much, Sana. I cannot add or agree more with all the panelists. I agree with all the things that they said, and we're really advocating for these policies that can really support family. And it's very important now, especially after pandemic, what we saw and what we even experienced. It's really exactly what Doctora saying, that really we have to advocate more for that, and we have to even nudge to implement like this kind of policy, inshallah. Thank you very much. Thank you, Renata, for your always your support always to DFI, and your very excellent moderating of this session. Thank you, Dr. Ahmed. Thank you, Dr. Khalid. Shukran, Dr. Sarah. Very happy to see you here with us. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. See you soon, inshallah.
See you, inshallah. Thank you very much. Thank you. Nice.